Welcome back to the crypto channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now it is happening. Bitcoin has just hit over $90,000 per Bitcoin as the price continues to play out this bullish divergence in the short term and is now wiping out a bunch of short positions, liquidating short positions, pushing the price higher in the short term towards this next price target that we need to pay attention to. And this is happening while the US stock market is currently pumping back towards all-time highs, which can really help the crypto market right now in the short term, while Ethereum is also continuing to play out the oversold signal as predicted, while the price of XRP is also playing out a bullish relief from this shorter term bullish divergence. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin and crypto charts today, we need to take a look at the US stock market. This right here is the S&P 500 index on the 1 hour time frame, and we can see that just recently in today's trading day and over the last couple of trading days here, the stock market over in the US has been on a decent short-term recovery and is now actually starting to get closer towards all-time highs. Obviously, the all-time high for the US stock market, at least for now, was back at the end of October. And so over the last few weeks, for almost a month, the US stock market has been in a bit of a correction, as we can see right here over the last multiple weeks for almost a month, like I just said. But now that we're seeing a recovery in the US stock market, getting closer towards all-time highs again, especially if we see potentially soon an all-time high breakout for the US stock market in the coming days or weeks here, then it's likely that that's really going to help the crypto market, at least in the short term, see a bit more of a recovery in the price. And so, as I've been saying for many years now on the channel, the US stock market and the crypto market are highly correlated. Now, of course, it's not a perfect one-to-one correlation. So, for example, if the US stock market hits all-time highs, that does not mean that the whole crypto market is going to hit all-time highs at the exact same time. But essentially, if the stock market is looking weak, as we have been seeing over the last month or so, usually that's going to be meaning a lot of weakness for the crypto market, and vice versa. If we see a recovery, as we're starting to see now in the stock market, it means we're most likely going to see something similar, a bit of a recovery or bullish relief in the short term for the crypto market, which is also what has just been playing out over the last couple of days or so. And so this is definitely something to keep an eye on moving forward. Even if you're not interested in the stock market, you're only looking at the crypto market, still at least pay attention to what the US stock market is doing as a pretty good indicator for what we should be roughly expecting for the crypto market. So once again, this is some good news for crypto right now as we continue recovery in the stock market. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today here on the weekly time frame, at least for now, this super trend indicator is still sitting in the red, which is a bearish signal, a warning signal to watch out for. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin price chart, technically speaking, we've not yet confirmed the end or the invalidation of this larger bearish divergence, which means overall it is still active. It is still something to watch out for on the weekly time frame, pointing towards a lack in bullish momentum on the much larger time frames. But remember, on small time frames in the short term, we can see shorter term bullish moves, which we are now currently seeing in the short term. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin price chart, we can see that right now the price is continuing to bounce from this support at roughly 85,000. So continue to expect a lot of support at give or take 85,000. And if we break below that point, we have a lot of support based on this candle wick low right here at almost exactly 80,000. And as for resistance, considering right now we are in a short-term bounce, the next point of resistance to watch out for is really sitting in between roughly 92 to 94,000 as an area of resistance that I'll be watching out for. And if we actually confirm a breakout with ideally a daily candle close above 94,000 and actually holding above that area, in that situation, it's quite likely you will see a continued bullish relief up towards roughly $100,000, and then expect resistance at around 100,000 if we first, of course, confirm a breakout above 92 to 94,000. That's the immediate resistance, the immediate obstacle to pay attention to for the price of Bitcoin. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, obviously right now we're continuing to play out this oversold signal exactly as predicted. Of course, close to a week ago, over half a week ago, right at these lows, I said it's very likely that in the coming days, maybe over the next week, expect a bit of a bullish move in the short term. And since I said that a few few days ago. That's exactly what has now been playing out as predicted, and I continue to predict this moving forward. A little bit more of a bullish move in the short term is a very likely scenario, not just based on this oversold signal on the daily time frame, but also based on an oversold signal confirming on the 3-day Bitcoin RSI, which is the first time this has happened in over 3 years. The last time we saw an oversold signal in the 3-day Bitcoin RSI was in mid 2022. And what happened these last couple of times here, these previous oversold signals in the 3-day Bitcoin RSI were either just a sideways consolidation over the next few weeks, or potentially a little bit more of a bullish move, a bit more of a bullish recovery over the next few weeks or so, potentially over the next 1 month or so, considering this is on the 3-day time frame. But at least over the coming days, most likely in the next week, that sort of time frame, possibly longer, possibly a couple of weeks, but give or take a week, I do continue to expect a bit more of a relief or a recovery in the price of Bitcoin here in the shorter term. And if we're zooming further into the short term, taking a look at the 6-hour Bitcoin price chart, obviously right now, technically speaking, this bullish divergence is still currently active. We've not yet confirmed an invalidation or the end of this short-term bullish divergence, which means overall continue to expect just a slight bullish relief as a very likely scenario, which is exactly what I've been saying every day since back down here. And obviously since then, that's exactly what has played out as predicted. And I continue to predict basically the same sort of price action that we've seen over the last half a week moving forward as a very likely scenario. And this latest little bullish move right here, this latest short-term pump in the price of Bitcoin from roughly 87,000 towards roughly 90,000 was potentially due to the fact that we had liquidity in the short term building at roughly 89,000, and we've now wiped out that liquidity. So in other words, we saw a very, very small little short squeeze, wiping out some shorts positions, which can help to push the price a little bit higher, which is what we just saw in the short term here. And if we're taking a look at where the next major liquidity point is sitting at on the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, that's sitting at roughly around 96.8k, so close to 97,000 as the next major price target to watch out for the price of Bitcoin. Now, we do also have a small amount of liquidity beginning to build at roughly 94,000, but the main level is at close to 97,000, just under 97,000. So looking at the Bitcoin price chart, that is sitting right around here on the price chart. And so once again, it is quite likely that the price will continue to be drawn towards those higher levels of liquidity further towards the upside. But remember, as I always say, we cannot ignore other points of resistance where the price could possibly struggle at or reject from. So for example, as the price continues to play out this bullish divergence, and of course these oversold signals on these different timeframes here with a little bit more of a bullish move, just keep in mind that as we start to run into resistance, the price can potentially struggle or reject from around those areas, which is why I mentioned the points of resistance to watch out for. And in terms of my Bitcoin trading strategy, as I already mentioned a couple of days ago now in my last couple of videos here on the channel, I mentioned that I did actually accumulate some spot Bitcoin on the spot market, just a few Bitcoin at these lows at roughly 85,000. And I said that back then, expecting some bullish price action moving forward. And since then, once again, that has been playing out. So I'm still currently holding that spot Bitcoin. And of course, if I have another trading opportunity, I will be sharing that as soon as I take it here on this channel. But overall, expect a little bit more of a bullish relief as a very likely scenario in the short term, as I've already been saying. And of course, this is the time to be set up, ready to go on a crypto exchange to take advantage of this trading opportunity, which is already now starting to happen. And if you use the first link below this video in the description or in the pinned comment, that first link will take you to this page right here over on Pinex, the Pinex crypto exchange, where you can take advantage of some massive deposit bonuses that are only available using that link. So for example, if you make an account using that link and make a deposit as little as $100, you get a $200 deposit bonus into your account. If you deposit say $1,000, you get a $600 deposit bonus. If you deposit these much larger amounts, you can get up to 40,000 USDT in a deposit bonus. This deposit bonus is basically the exchange's money that they go ahead and put into your account, and then you can go ahead to actually use the exchange's money, use the deposit bonus in order to fund one of these Bitcoin trades if you want to. And so obviously, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway or preparing to take the next trading opportunity, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link below the video to take advantage of this right here. But if you want a no KYC exchange, an exchange where you can take long positions or short positions, then for that I use 2bits. I'll also make sure to leave a link to 2bits below the video in the description description and in the pinned comment, and that second link below this video will take you to this page right here over on 2bit, where you can also take advantage of loss protection, trade protection, if you're actually getting liquidated on your trades over on 2bit. And so as you can see right here, new users that are making your account for the first time during this event right here over on 2bit can get up to a 100% loss protection on your first futures trade, up to 200 USDT in trial funds. And on top of that, if you get liquidated over 50 USDT during this event that's now currently active, then you can get up to 1000 USDT in compensation, basically getting your funds back if you lose on one of your trades. And so once again, all of this right here is available using that second link below the video. And on top of that, if you use that second link below the video to actually make your 2bit account, there's also other exclusive deposit bonuses that you can see if you make your account using that link. So you might as well check this out. If you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well take advantage of these extra bonuses here and loss protection. And once again, 2bit is a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on the daily time frame, and at least for now, we're still kind of in this correction stage, or this slight little pullback stage in the Bitcoin dominance. Now, of course, we're not really seeing a massive crash or anything, so it's not like we're really seeing a major altcoin season despite this slight pullback. But overall, while we're still within this pullback phase in the market, in the Bitcoin dominance here, it means a lot of altcoins on average are likely doing a little bit better than whatever Bitcoin is doing. And so overall, this is at least some good news for the altcoin market, meaning a lot of altcoins on average will likely have some decent short-term bullish moves, especially if Bitcoin continues this bullish relief. Once again, that can really help a lot of the altcoin market. And so if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, right now the price of ETH is obviously continuing that perfect bounce from this exact level of support here, which was sitting at around 2620. So really in between 2.6k to 2.7k. Still expect a lot of support in that area if the price actually gets back down there. And as for resistance to watch out for, expect resistance at this level, which we're currently testing as I record in this video, which is sitting in between around 3,000 to 3.1k. So potentially expect some resistance around here, which means it's possible the price could soon start to struggle around this area. But if the price actually breaks out above 3.1k, and especially if we confirm a daily candle close above 3.1k and actually holding above this area, then in that situation, they'll be very bullish, at least in the short term for the following days or the next 1 or 2 weeks. And in that situation, we'll likely see at least a move up towards around 3250 to almost 3.3k. And if we break past that point, then the next target, the next major point of resistance is in between 3.6k to 3.7k. But once again, the immediate obstacle, the immediate resistance to watch out for is one we're testing right now in between 3,000 to 3.1k. And if we're taking a look at this daily Ethereum price chart, obviously right now the price of ETH is continuing to perfectly play out this oversold signal as predicted. So basically I'll say the same thing that I've been saying for almost a week since right down here, which is that we should be expecting some bullish price action in the short term over the coming days. Not necessarily a huge high momentum move towards all-time highs or anything like that, but do we expect just at least a bit of a bullish relief moving forward in the short term. And once again, ever since I've been saying that since back down here, that's exactly what has now played out as predicted, and I continue to predict this price action moving forward. But once again, just remember these points of resistance along the way where the price could possibly struggle at. So as we see this bullish relief, obviously it's possible we struggle a little bit around this resistance, but then once we break out past that point of resistance, then of course the oversold signal can ultimately continue to play out up towards the next point of resistance. And as always, when it comes to Ethereum and really any altcoin, pay attention to what Bitcoin is doing, and also of course what the US stock market is doing to figure out what could be likely about to happen for a lot of the altcoin market. And if we're taking a look at Solana on the 2-day time frame, right now as I'm recording this video, just like Ethereum testing that area of resistance, Solana is also now testing a short-term area of resistance sitting in between around 143 to 147. And so obviously this means that it could be likely that very soon the price could start to struggle or possibly reject from around that area. But if the price actually breaks out above around 147, especially if we confirm a candle close on the daily or the 2-day chart above that level and hold above that level, in that situation it would likely see a continued bullish move into the high 160 area, closer towards 170. And of course, a few reasons as to why we're seeing this short-term bullish move for Solana, on top of the obvious reason that other cryptos like Bitcoin, Ethereum are playing out a bullish move and Solana's correlated with the market. On top of that reason, of course, we're bouncing from almost oversold in the 2-day Solana RSI, but if you're zooming into smaller time frames, we hit oversold in the RSI, which is a signal that we went too far to the downside too quickly in the short term, and that we're due to see a bit of a relief moving forward. So that's another reason as to why we're seeing this bullish move in the short term, on top of the fact that other cryptos are playing out a bullish move. And on top of those reasons, we're also bouncing from this point of support, sitting at give or take 124. So if we see any sort of rejection here, continue to expect a lot of support in between roughly 124 to 127. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, technically speaking, we still have that massive bearish divergence to watch out for. So remember, despite seeing short-term bullish moves, which we can see on smaller time frames, overall, if we're looking at the bigger picture, we've not yet confirmed the end of this bearish divergence. So keep that in mind. This is a longer term, or at least a mid to longer term signal, not a short-term signal. And if we're taking a look at the daily XRP price chart, what is more of a shorter term signal is of course this shorter term bullish divergence, which has already confirmed and it's already starting to play out on the daily XRP price chart. And so once again, as I've already been saying over the last few days, we should be expecting just a slight bullish relief, maybe a bit of chubby sideways price action here and there, but overall a bit of a bullish relief or a break from all of the bearish price action, at least in the short term. Now keep in mind, this alone does not necessarily mean we've ended the bearish trend and that we're completely reversing the bearish trend. Keep in mind, we can see short-term bullish reliefs during the larger bearish trend, but at least for now in the shorter term, so for the next few days, maybe the next week, that sort of time frame, we should be expecting a little bit more of a relief as a very likely scenario, especially if Bitcoin and other major altcoins play out something similar. And so in other words, it's quite likely that very soon XRP could test this next area of resistance again, sitting in between roughly $2.30 to $2.40. So that is the next price target, the next area to watch out for in terms of resistance, where the price could possibly struggle at. But if we actually break out past $2.40, especially with candle closes, and especially if we hold above that area, in that situation would likely see a continued move up towards around $2.60, because really in between 260 to 270, that would be the next strong area of resistance to watch out for if we first confirm a breakout above 230 to 240. That is the immediate target, the immediate obstacle to watch out for. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, it's a very similar situation for Chainlink. Technically speaking, despite the current short-term bullish move, we've not yet fully confirmed the end of the larger bearish trend. Remember, it is possible to see these short-term bullish moves during the larger bearish trend before ultimately heading lower at some point later on. But at least for now, in the short term, talking about the coming hours or days, maybe the next week, that sort of time frame, do continue to expect a little bit more of a bullish relief as a very likely scenario for Chainlink, especially if Bitcoin and other altcoins are playing out something similar. Remember, a lot of the crypto market's highly correlated, so if Bitcoin's playing out this bullish move, expect something very similar to this for a lot of these altcoins like Chainlink. And of course, another reason as to why we're playing out this bullish move in the short term for Chainlink is due to the fact that we're also playing out an oversold signal here in the daily Chainlink RSI, which is a signal telling us we went too far to the downside too quickly, and we need a little bit of time here in the short term to reset the RSI out of oversold, which means most likely a bit of a bounce in the price, which has now been playing out as predicted. And of course, we also pretty much perfectly bounced from this exact level of support here at around $11.60 based on these previous lows, based on the previous daily candle closes back down here. So continue to expect a lot of support at $11.60. And as for resistance, we're potentially now breaking out. We're attempting a breakout above this short-term level of resistance here, which was sitting at roughly around 1320 to 1340, give or take. So if we actually confirm a breakout with the daily candle close above this area, especially if we now hold above this area, in that situation, in the next few days or so, we could start to move up closer towards around 1460 as a potential point of resistance. And above that, we have a major area to watch out for, likely acting as strong resistance in between 1520 to 1570. And so once again, if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim the massive bonuses that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can take make these trades, know how to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, no matter what the price is doing, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.